Terrific. Okay, I'm live and this is appearing on my profile page, my Ted Kofi media page, and also on my YouTube. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me if you've taken the time. Tonight, I'm going to talk about whether or not Africans should just fit in or be themselves. And I think that this issue is particularly important for Africans because we are a people that come from a group-oriented type society. Of course, we're not the only ones. There are other societies which are very, very strong on group usages, group norms, group traditions, group cultural usages, and so on and so forth. The first one that comes to mind, the Japanese may be even worse than we are. However, this creates something of a conflict. Because if you're not careful, after a while, what you end up becoming is a role player. So if you're an Ashanti or a Zulu or a Xhosa or a Kikuyu or wherever you come from, you wind up being that person. And yet your mother and your father gave you a name. And that name indicates your individuality. And it is from that individuality that your creativity, the essence, the thing that makes you you and nobody else resides. That's where it resides. But all of that can be completely swept under the carpet if you spend your time just following the rules and the usages. Now, there comes a point when the individual is going to have to make moral judgments. And when it comes to moral judgments, the cultural norms and cultural rules become a little bit fuzzy. Because actually, it is not always what the culture or the society suggests you should do that your moral conscience tells you is the right thing to do. I'll give an example. Let's take authoritarianism. Now, I don't know what African life was like before colonialism, but I'll say for certain that one of the abiding impacts of colonialism was a mindset of authoritarianism. Why did we imbibe that? We imbibed that because it was the way the erstwhile colonial masters got Africans to do their bidding. And typically, how this would be arranged would be from those of the upper privileged classes who would be creamed off into a professional, educational, and political elite who would be taught and imbibed with the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of the former colonial masters. And they would only know how to apply those usages in the way in which they were taught, which is by authoritarianism. And so it is that you find that even though within our culture, we have enormous respect for age, for example, we have enormous respect for seniority, for example. Back in the day, there were always ways and means by which this respect for authority, this respect for age, never became the shibboleth of totalitarianism. Now in Africa, following the colonial experience, what happens is that the more senior you are, the less anybody dares to criticize you. And so if you're a political leader leading your country on the route to hell, because you're the boss, because you're the big man, everybody is mute. You wind up with the situation of what I call football supporter politics, where I remember I'm a Man U fan. There's another red team in the northern part of London who were arch rivals back in the day. And you would get Sir Alex Ferguson on one hand, managing Manchester United, and you get Arsene Wenger on the other hand, managing the Gunners. And the most outrageous things would be going on the field, and you'd ask the managers, and they turn around and say, "Oh, I didn't see that. We'll have to see an action replay of that event." Whereas 100,000 fans on the pitch can see exactly what misdemeanors are being committed. And that's how you get this kind of groupthink appearing, in which the individual's moral conscience plays second fiddle to what their team tells them to do, to what the person in authority tells them to do. So, whatever causes this kind of authoritarianism, our society is structured very heavily by age. Even within families, you will have a senior member of the family who may be talking utter and arrant nonsense, but who, by virtue and dint of their seniority, dares not to be opposed. These are difficulties. Now, the bottom line is this. Africa's in a difficult situation. The methods which have been applied in the West, which the West tries to impose on Africa, very much in a cookie cutter kind of way. So you cut and paste whatever they do in the West and try and apply it in completely irrelevant circumstances in Africa. These cookie cutters are applied to our solutions with devastating and catastrophic, as you and I can see, consequences. So the end result is that people are made bereft, if you like, of their creativity, their ability to apply their creative and critical thinking to their situations so that they can apply their natural and active wisdom. And all of this is because Africans are trying to fit in either to their culture or the world, or the balance of power in the world, or the world's zeitgeist, whether it applies to them or not. Now, I'm going to say that there are world phenomena which are going on at the moment, which drive all of us as mankind in the same direction. Take the social media platforms. You get a phenomenon like TikTok. It has managed to shrink the attention span of the average intelligent, educated person to about 3 minutes. In the space of 3 minutes, what kind of valuable discussion can you have? I'm already clock watching. I'm at 8 minutes and 30 seconds into this broadcast, and I'm already feeling that I've gone too far. I'm already feeling that I'm going beyond the attention span of otherwise educated, cultured, civilized, traveled adults. Why? Because our mentality is being collectively dumbed down. Then there's the matter of narcissism. You see, if you can stop an individual thinking with any kind of depth or insight into their actual circumstances, you can get them to do anything. And the whole purpose of all the social media platforms is to promote a kind of narcissism. Now, please, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to judge anybody. In fact, I am here to acknowledge I love style. Show me a bit of style and you've got me already. If I see somebody walking down the road, from what they have on the top of their heads to what they're wearing on their feet, I pick up everything in the blink of an eye. Why? Because I'm attracted to beauty. I'm attracted to style. That's not the point. The point is, what are you achieving with that style beyond check me out, here's my swag? What are you achieving beyond that? And if we're not achieving anything beyond a kind of narcissistic fillip of people, you hoovering up likes from the posts that you put up, I'm not surprised Africa's going around in circles, because we're not thinking with any depth about anything that really matters. So the final point I want to make about this business about Africans fitting in or Africans being themselves is that in the end, being yourself requires that A, you respect yourself. By respect yourself, I mean that you have an opinion, a well-considered, well-thought-out opinion, which you hold yourself, not which you hold because the rest of the herd is saying that's what you should be thinking, or because your culture is saying that that's what you should be thinking. Some of our cultural memes and usages were created hundreds of years ago. They have no relevance today anymore. And the only person who can decide which of our cultural ways and means are appropriate for us is the thinking individual. Well, if he's been dumbed down into a 3-minute span of attention via TikTok, or can't think beyond coming along and twerking on a short video reel, where are we going to go? So, the final point I'll make here is that we need to be ourselves. And that for those of us who are younger than people like me, I want you to understand one thing. When you hit 25, there is no more play. When you hit around about 25, 26, it's game on. And all the match stats are being collected. And afterwards, these stats will be poured over by people the world over, not least of all, those people who are telling you to follow the cultural usages. So the match stats are in play, they are being recorded, and it is up to us to create value with the actions, the thoughts, the words, and the activities that we make. So actually, I don't give a damn which uni you went to. I don't give a damn how many degrees you've got. I don't give a damn what accent you speak with. I even don't give a damn if I need a widescreen TV so that I can see the entirety of your derriere or the size of your cranium. What matters is the value we are able to create. And that is the only protection this wonderful continent of something like 1.3 billion people, it is the only protection these people, we, you, me, the rest of the people on the continent have. Indeed, it's not just us. It's the same protection that is afforded people in Europe and other parts. In Europe, they have other problems. Their problem is that the media keeps the public completely, totally dumbed down. They don't know which way is up. They don't know which way is down. They can't tell sometimes what is right and what is wrong. And everybody is encouraged to live in denial of the reality that they see in favor of the lies that they're told by mainstream media. So there we have it, my friends. It's time for Africans now to stop fitting in. When I went back to Africa as a kid who'd grown up in Europe, the pressure to fit in was enormous. Absolutely enormous. Now, some 30, 40 years later, I guarantee you this. without having the integrity to be who you are not only a complete waste of space as far as the continent is concerned, but I can also tell you this, sometimes with enormous cost to myself, that if you're not true to yourself, you're a waste of space to yourself as well, and a bad example to others. My friends, thank you so much for sharing. And this went on for 15 minutes. I'd say 5 minutes too long, but hey ho, we get better.